Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, normally I would wait till the end, but I think it needs to be said at the beginning. I gotta tell you that if you didn't get a chance to attend the Cinco de Mayo festivities, fantastic event. I mean, food, fun, music, everything you could ask for. I'm very appreciative of everybody that worked to make that a success. I know Jason and his group were all over the place. They even had the sound blaring on the fire truck, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's kind of nice. It was a really nice touch. And I kudos to our councilwoman, Mrs. Orozco. I kid you not. I wish I had that energy. She was there from the get-go, and I'm pretty sure she was there at the closing, along with her good friend, Roberta Camacho. I was freezing out there, so I guess maybe that's why you were keeping warm. You just kept moving. And then I'd also like to thank Mr. Martinez, who took it upon himself to be the litter cleanup committee. He just kept going around on his bike, picking up paper. And I know that, you know, that's a small thing, but he did it for both the Dia del Niño and he did it for Cinco de Mayo. I hope you continue that tradition. 4th of July is coming up. So I'll just say those comments and we'll move on with the agenda. Estela, could we please have roll call?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Scott Funk,
Present.
Councilmember Liz Silva,
Present.
Councilmember Lorraine Worthy,
Present.
Councilmember Maria Orozco,
Present.
and Chair Jose Rios.
Present. Moving on with the agenda. Get my peepers on here. First item of business is. Sorry. Thought I had it all organized, but I didn't. It's a presentation. It says to consider approval of and present proclamation number 2024-01, a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Gonzales proclaiming May 2024 as Poppy Month. Do I have a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I believe, do we have the proclamation here in council chambers?
Yes.
Stuff?
Yeah.
And yes, please. Well, actually, can we have, council? Thank you, Lorraine.
I love this. Okay. Proclamation number 2024-1. Whereas in support of the American Legion Auxiliary, Gonzales Unit 81 is declaring May 2024 as Poppy Month. And whereas the poppy became a symbol of sacrifice of lives in war and represented the hope that none had died in vain. And whereas Poppy Month has become a tradition in almost every American community. And whereas the distribution of the bright red flower is one of the oldest and most widely recognized programs of the American Legion Auxiliary. And whereas the memorial poppy is made by hospitalized veterans, then distributed to the public near Memorial Day, and all donations received are used only to benefit American veterans. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Jose Rios, on behalf of the City of Gonzales City Council, hereby proclaim, honors, and supports May 2024 as Poppy Month. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just quickly want to remind everyone that we will be distributing poppies in the month of May, and we will be having a Memorial Day somber event at the cemetery where we honor all those veterans that are fallen veterans. The names are read that day. And after that, we will have a barbecue. So we will be distributing tickets. So we encourage everyone to support the Veterans Day barbecue, or excuse me, Memorial Day barbecue, which will be held at City Hall from 11 to 2 on the 27th of May. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Worthy. Moving on, Business from the public, not on the agenda. Any member of the public may address the council agency for a period not to exceed 3 minutes on any subject not on the agenda. The council agency will listen to all correspondence, but will make and take no action.
Thank you for that comment you did earlier. And it was fun doing it. I had fun. My question is, 3 weeks, 3 months, he's not here, the chief. And he should have been here for this comment. You guys are going after fireworks, safe and sane. And it's only one day, not every day. This popping of fireworks before the 4th should be illegal, so you wouldn't have that problem. After 12 o'clock, they're illegal again. Popping
Mr.
fireworks.
Martinez,
Mayor.
I'm sorry, that is on the
Oh,
agenda.
is it?
Yes, it is.
No, okay, I'll change my topic then. And then enforcement of police officers should be changed, the way they handle the situation. And one more thing. My son-in-law is a veteran, was in the last battle of Iraq. He was a combat medic. And he was blown out of his Humvee because medics do not wear seatbelts. He gets up, rushes back, tries to save his combat buddies and can't. And he comes to the 4th of July and has fun at my house, popping the fireworks. Remember, some combat vets do not suffer stress from bombs. He got blown up. He's blowing up fireworks like happy.
Good afternoon. I'm John McPherson. I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance on Aging, and I wanted to take this opportunity to first say hello to some old friends, and then update you on a very exciting initiative that we have underway. We received a grant from the state of California, one of 16 entities to receive a grant to come up with a local age and disability action plan. This is to work with the community, understand the input from the community on what we need to do to come up with an action plan to make a more age and disability friendly community. And our task is to do this for the Salinas Valley. So that's South County, City of Salinas, and North Monterey County. We've convened a advisory group across that area of over 50 individuals. We've broken it up into 3 to make it more manageable. And we are now in the process of doing a community assessment. So telephone calls are being done. We'll then be doing an online assessment, and we'll be doing some paper assessments to really understand what the community needs, what from an age and disability standpoint. We'll be compiling that information, and then we'll be coming up with an action plan using both staff, professionals, as well as our advisory committee. So I expect that sometime in the fall, I'll be able to come back to you all with what our draft action plan is, and so we can get input from you. But I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to the initiative. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Liz.
Roman Barba, 123 Second Street. I wanted to talk about community center. I wanted to go to the meeting. You guys had the groundbreaking. Couldn't make it because I was at the Gonzalez Fairview Wrestling Tournament, which because I have relatives on the team, and it was the last tournament, so it was pretty hard to which one I wanted to go to, but I really since I've been from the community center from day one, it was pretty hard. But our team did pretty well. So the girls did really, really well from Fairview. But one thing I was thinking about is Chular. You know, Chular used to be one of our feeder programs for the high school. That program has been gone probably the last 7 years. So we don't have a feeder program coming out of Chular. So I was thinking somehow it's trying to get that school together and trying to make a feeder program over there, maybe try to get some wrestlers to try to open up that program over there. So I went over to the school and I checked out their gym. They have a really nice gym that never gets used, right? So I thought maybe trying to get the Chular kids involved over here, right? Maybe they could be on this student council over here or something. Some of the kids from Chular coming over here, you know, but that is part of our community. Another thing I wanted to talk about was setbacks. I noticed there's a house on 116. They're building, I'm not sure if they're building a house or a garage, but it's only 2 feet away from the fence. So they already have the foundation down. So it's supposed to be 5 feet. So I think the city needs to check some of the buildings that are getting built right now and backyards or whatever, because I could guarantee you they're not 5 feet away from the fences, people's property lines. So if you have a fire or anything like that, you're gonna have issues. So if you go down to 2nd Street, 116, or 3rd Street, South 3rd Street, the fence is open, you can see the property line. Since we had our problem with because he said he's not gonna do anything with our property. He's gonna leave the structures there, the dog structure against our fence. Doesn't want to move it back 5 feet. But I've been going around town looking at other places and same thing. They're not 5 feet away from the fence lines. So it needs to be, his work needs to be double checked. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Rosa Rodriguez, 307 Ayrshire Way. Sorry, my voice is a little raspy from doing a lot of yard work, raspy. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is I'm really happy that the gentleman came from Alliance on Aging, because I did see the post on the city website. And it says, the Association on Alliance on Aging, along with the Monterey County Health Department and Bluestones, they're going to be having a cooking class for seniors from, that would be on May the 11th from 1 to 2 at Taylor Farms. So I'm really happy, you know, that they're taking the initiative to do that for our community. One thing that I did mention that I'm really sad about is, and not to compare or anything, and please don't take me as being bold, because I do come across as that, but before, when Carmen Hill was community liaison, she used to do a lot more outreach for the community than the person that is there now. I didn't see anybody from the community liaison out at the Dia del Niño or Cinco de Mayo. I know the car show because that's something that the city, sponsored, but I would like to, to see more involvement from the person in charge. But I think that's a person from Parks and Recs, if I'm not mistaken. That's a hefty salary, and I would expect to be done more with that salary and more outreach to the community. That's my 2 cents on that. In regards to May, because my time is coming up, May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And, that includes PTSD. And because PTSD doesn't affect one individual, doesn't mean that PTSD does not affect other individuals. And I do understand that the firework issue is going to be coming, later in the packet. However, I wanted to clarify that May is mental health awareness, and we do have to be considerate, of our veterans and also people on the spectrum and our pets and whatnot. I mean, it affects everybody. So, and I also have pictures of a burning house. So, and there's other issues that we'll clarify once we get down the packet. But that's basically what I wanted to say. And I had the time of my life at the Cinco de Mayo, and I had the time of my life at the Dia del Niño because I had my nieces with me. And I'm really sad that we didn't have an Easter egg hunt, for the kids. So I need Parks and Recs to step it up a little bit. And I hope we can have a Parks and Recs committee like we had before, because I think that's where we're lacking and we're not serving the community as we should. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, see no one else, then I'll go ahead and ask Marisol, do we have anyone via Zoom?
Yes, Henry Martinez.
Can you put him on, please?
This is Henry Martinez Jr.,
Martinez,
116.
you're on.
Yeah, Henry Martinez Jr., 116 10th Street. So I'm not too sure if you're hearing me.
Is he muted or unmuted?
He's unmuted.
He's unmuted.
Yeah, hello?
Okay. Hello, Mr. Martinez, you're on.
Oh, yes. Can you guys hear me?
To communicate.
It looked like
hello?
he was trying to talk, but I can't hear him.
Audio's not coming through? Is the volume?
I have no idea what's going on.
No.
Yeah, hello?
Maybe, Mr. Mayor, if Mr. Martinez can hear us, he can type out his comments and we can read them later in the meeting.
Right. Mr. Martinez, we can't hear you, so if you'll type out your comments, we'll ask for those comments a little bit later. So we're gonna go ahead and move on with the meeting and ask, or you can email. Estella, do we have any email correspondence?
Actually, excuse me, Mayor, we don't have a chat option
Oh, we don't.
on that, so he can't type.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, hello?
We can't,
He can email the comments. We can, if he emails them to us, we can read them.
okay. Did you hear that, Mr. Martinez? You can email your comments. I apologize for the difficulties, but technology is what it is. Okay, Estella, do we have any comments via email?
We do not have no comments. via email.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close that part of the public meeting and move on to the consent agenda. Anyone wishing to pull an item may do so at this time. If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval from items 4 through 10.
Move to approve consent.
Move for consent?
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to the first one. I'm gonna try to read it, but I can't guarantee it. Okay, regular agenda item, public hearings to consider approval of a resolution number 2024-12, a resolution of the city council of the city of Gonzales authorizing. Sorry, would you find?
I'd be happy to read that. Okay, so what we have here is a joint public hearing this evening of the city council and the Gonzales Public Financing Authority. And you have two separate sets of resolutions before you, but we have a public hearing on both of them. The first is the public hearing to consider approval of resolution number 2024-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gonzales authorizing the execution and delivery of a ground lease, lease agreement, indenture, bond purchase agreement, and continuing disclosure certificate in connection with the issuance of the Gonzales Public Financing Authority lease revenue bonds, Series 2024A, approving the issuance of such bonds in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $9,825,000, authorizing the distribution of an official statement in connection with the offering and sale of such bonds, and authorizing the execution of necessary documents and certificates and related actions. That is the city council resolution that's before you at this hearing. We also then have a resolution of the Public Finance Authority. That's resolution number FA 2024-01. It's essentially the same. It mirrors the same actions that I just read into the record.
Okay, so that's A and B.
So what we have then is you should have a staff report. You should open the public hearing and take comment, and then we'll have council and board discussion, council and board action, hopefully.
Okay,
and you have the staff recommendation.
then let's move forward with the staff report, please. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. As the council's aware, there's quite a few funding sources for the community center project. And it includes the USDA loan, $9.825 million, but that kicks in or takes effect after the project is complete. And so this is regarding interim construction financing. And with that, I'm going to introduce Eric Scriven with NHA, and he's going to step through the slide deck that's in your packet.
Basically, what we're doing is we're borrowing money to be able to build a construction money.
That's exactly right.
Exactly right. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. It's great to be back on such a really, really cool project. This has been a long time coming, and I'm just going to go through pretty quickly the slides, but stop me if you have any questions, particularly on the documents that you're approving or the numbers or the overall concept of the funding project. The project is, ground was broken. I too missed the groundbreaking, which I was very disappointed. Been part of the project from close to the beginning as well. As Patrick mentioned, this project, the funding sources for this project are varied and significant. In fact, I would say that this project is the poster child for pulling everything together, all the resources you possibly can, from grants, county funds, the state grant, fundraising from the community, a subsidized long-term loan from USDA, just grants on like the vehicle charging. This, what we call a funding stack, the overall funding plan is quite remarkable, and I'm proud to be part of this project. As Patrick also mentioned, the USDA loan, which is about $9.8 million, they require construction funding. They don't want to take that risk, so they'll come in afterwards and take this interim funding out. So the purpose tonight is to approve all the documents that your city attorney mentioned. So going to slide 2, the interim funding plan, we looked at several options. We did talk to banks, which would have been a cheaper option, but really it's not cheap in the sense that they are higher interest rates, and really banks don't want to loan money these days. There's been quite a bit of a seizure as far as banks lending on public projects. They will lend on certain instances, but we did the full evaluation and cost benefit analysis, and we came away with the determination that a public offering where you sell bonds to investors versus one loan to a bank was the cheaper option. But it is a more involved process, and we've been putting your city staff through a lot of machinations because it's a serious endeavor to sell bonds to investors. You really have to have all your legal documents in place, and importantly, you have to have all of the information of the city, the project come together for a rating to Standard & Poor's, and that important preliminary official statement that you're approving tonight is a disclosure document that goes to investors, and we really need to make sure that reflects what the investors are looking at with respect to the project and the city's finances. So we are going to do a lease revenue bond. This is a short-term note, if you will. It's the project is expected to be constructed in about 18 months. Usually you want to go 6 months past the construction period. So a 24-month period of time is a safety zone. But this being a lease, we have to do a long-term lease for legal reasons. And then we have a mandatory redemption at the 2-year mark or an 18-month mark as well. Those 2 milestones so that we can take this loan out with the USDA funding. So that's the plan of finance. The sources and uses, we've got the 9,825,000 that's going to come from USDA. That's going to be how this loan is paid off. So the sources and uses of this interim funding, we've got cost of issuance, and we have to fund our interest upfront to pay the interest to the bond investors over the next 2 years is what we're putting into the transaction during the construction period. It's expected that the project will be funded in November of 2025. Any questions on the numbers? With that, I'll get to the documents that you're approving tonight. This, you've got a lot of, you have a lease, you have a site lease, you have indenture of trust. Really what this comes together to be is a lease back, where you have a lease and then a lease back that creates an income stream that then you can finance. That income stream is what is used to sell bonds upon. And then that income stream is assigned to the trustees. So you have an assignment agreement. The bond purchase agreement is between the city and the Public Financing Authority and the underwriter. The underwriter is the entity, the firm that sells the bonds to investors. And that contract, once it's signed on the day that commitments from investors are received, that's when you have an actual binding agreement between investors, the underwriter, and the city. As I mentioned before, the preliminary official statement is being approved tonight. That's a very important document. That's the document that goes out to investors. And you are approving that tonight in substantially final form. It is not final. There are certain holes, if you will, on numbers that we still are putting in, more recent financials. We do have one footnote that we're going to bring out related to the fire department that has gone from voluntary to paid fire department. We want to make sure that that's clearly disclosed to investors. Things like that we're still going to do, but for tonight, the document is in substantially final form that can be approved by City Council. And then finally, the continuing disclosure, that's a very important document annually. The city has to report its finances and other things to investors. So those are the documents. Are there any questions on what you're approving tonight?
Questions? No. Those that we have no questions.
Next page. And just to note, the team, the city is really the, city staff does run the show as far as managing the finance team. We're your financial advisor, NHA Advisors. QTAC Rock is a well-known, established bond firm. They're doing the bond legal documents and the disclosure document, the preliminary official statement. The underwriter is Hilltop Securities. They've done good work for the city in the past and are very ably going to sell these bonds. And then the trustee will be US Bank. Timeline, if the city council approves the resolutions before you tonight, we will move forward. We do have a scheduled credit rating presentation tomorrow morning with Standard & Poor's. And that really sets the table, if you will, to move forward, finalize the preliminary official statement, get the rating, and put the package together, vet it one more time before it goes to investors. The idea is to sell the bonds, have a day where you have investors put their orders in for the bonds in late May. And then if that's an acceptable deal, you're authorizing your city manager to execute the bond purchase agreement. If it's acceptable deal, it fits within the parameters that you're approving tonight. And then we would close the transaction in June. And that the money would be funded into a trustee account. with that, glad to answer any questions.
All righty. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up to the public. Any member of the public wishing to comment on this item may do so at this time.
And for clarity, Mr. Mayor, we're opening a public hearing.
Yes, we'll open the public hearing.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, that's the public hearing on both the resolution that's going to be entertained by the city council and the resolution that will be entertained by the public financing authority.
Correct. Let's see, nobody running up to the podium. Do we have any comments via Zoom?
Oh, there's some late ones.
Rosa, I'm sorry. Rosa, you need to jump up.
I know.
I'm a
I did
boss.
a lot of yard work. I can't even get up right now. Yes, and I know this is in regards to the lease agreement. And what,
It's in regards to the financing for the community center, and it's basically the construction loan. Anytime you build anything,
yes.
the bank will not loan you the loan from the get-go.
Oh, no, I understand because of the bonds with the school and so forth. This is not going to affect our taxes in any way, is it? No. I
Not
just
that
want to
I'm
make
aware.
sure. No, okay. I just want to make sure about that. And the other thing is I wanted to ask for the actual total cost of the community center because I mean, we've been waiting for this community center since 2003 when the city gave seed money for the community center. And they we even formed a nonprofit group and then it was disassembled. And so we've been waiting, 21 years for this community center. And I'm happy that we're finally going to have it. I mean, our kids are not going to be able to, enjoy it probably now as adults, or maybe if I have grandkids, but I'm trying to figure out the actual cost because it seems like really, really high.
Unfortunately, construction costs have been skyrocketing. I can
Mhm.
share that with you. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and look at the price of materials and it's gone astronomical. Mr. Dobbins, do you have a ballpark number at the present time? And again, don't hold us to that because,
Yeah, it's changing.
change of. Yeah, it's in phases, so it's
Mhm.
So the cost for phase one is approximately $27 million plus or minus, and we need another, what, 8 or 9 million to build phase two, which is the community center and community hall.
Okay, and it's just the two phases, right?
for now, yes.
For now?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure that as a community member, I'm not gonna be paying more on my home.
No.
Okay, thank you.
There's no guarantee. All right. Any additional questions? Okay, I don't see anybody else. Marisol, do we have any comments via Zoom?
No comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Estella, do we have any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Okay, then we'll close the public meeting on this item, and then we'll bring it back to council discussion, or I'll entertain a motion, whatever is your choice.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion, we adopt resolution number 2024-12 and resolution number FA 2024-01.
Just, can we do those as two separate items?
Definitely.
Just want to make it cleaner that you're acting as city council on the one and the finance authority on the other.
Perfect. We can do that as council first with the motion to adopt resolution number 2024-12.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Then I'll entertain a motion from the finance agency.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion, we adopt resolution number FA 2024-01.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's get going on that building. All right. Moving on. My eyes don't fail me now. This is be item 12, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fiscal year 2022-2023. Man, I read it really well at the house and like now I'm just having this terrible time.
Don't beat yourself up.
Audit financial. statement and management report.
Got it.
Who is handling that?
Mike.
Yes.
Mike?
Mr.
Good evening,
Mike.
Mayor and members of the council. Tonight, we're presenting the audited financial statement for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Just as background, an audited financial statement is required by California Government Code of all municipalities by an independent CPA firm. Our financial statements were again audited by Bryant Jolly CPAs out of the San Joaquin Valley. I won't go into more details there. Turning to the actual audit itself, when the audit is concluded or when I receive a draft, the very first thing I do is look at the independent auditor's report because they don't give us really a lot of indication until the audit is done of what their opinion is going to be, so that we don't try to influence their opinion. So if you've seen financial statements for a number of years, the opinion has now been moved to the opening of their opinion. It used to be buried down about the 5th paragraph. So I'm just going to read that to you because this is what I look for. This is the auditor speaking. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city as of June 30th, 2023, and the respective changes in financial position and, where applicable, cash flows thereof for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. That's what we look for. That's considered a clean audit. If we had any deficiencies, the opinion would have started with, we find the material financial statements were misstated by something, an audit finding that would have been material. So that's what we're looking for. I'm proud to present these financial statements to you as a clean opinion from our auditors, saying basically that the work that we are doing in making sure that all funds received, all funds expended are accounted for properly in their various funds and for the uses that they were determined to be spent. By that, I mean, if we received water and sewer funds, we did not pay for the police department with them. They stayed within the respective funds and so forth. So where they had any kind of strings attached to them. Now I'd like to bring your attention to, it's page 329 of your packet. This is the balance sheet. The next thing we look for, and the fund that is of most concern to us in the city, is our general fund, right? This is our operating fund. This is what pays for public safety. This is what pays for the administration of the city to make things work. Our fund balance, if you'll note toward the bottom, we have a new reserved amount, and that is the $2.4 million. That $2.4 million reserve represents funds received that were dedicated specifically for the community center. So in some cases, this was the library grant from the county and some other grant funds. You will see, I'll just let you know, in 2024, the contributions were deposited in this fiscal year. So when we do the next audit, you will see additional funds projected there. The next line is committed for contingency reserve. This is your council reserve. Your council reserve is set at $1 million. And so in all disclosure, and I think we've had these conversations, we are just shy of the $1 million. We did make improvement from 2022. We made improvement by $11,000. So we inched a little bit closer to that $1 million. We are still shy of $21,700. I bring this to your attention to remind the council, that we do, at this point in time, we do not have any discretionary operating reserves in the general fund, okay? The council set that reserve for rainy day funds, emergencies, and those types of things. And it will take council action to use those funds, just as with our budget for the current fiscal year, council adopted a flat budget, a zero budget, meaning that we're not projecting to add to the reserves, nor are we projecting to dip into the reserves, with one exception. The council did approve the heater, which then dipped into our reserves by $85,000. So I just want to make sure, because that report is coming, so I don't want you to think that you said. Okay. So all other funds are operating as intended. In addition to these financial statements, at the very end is a single audit. A single audit is required by federal law when a municipality spends more than $750,000 of federal grant money. What is triggering our audit is the ARPA dollars. So we are still expending those, and we expect that to happen probably one more year, and then we will probably go back to not having a single audit unless we get a grant for a federal loan. So knock on, maybe we will. Maybe the federal government will find some money that they're willing to give out. Aside from that, I won't go much more detail into the financial statements unless you have some specific questions. But I do want you to know that all of the special revenue funds, such as our gas tax, any of our community development funds, our police fund, public safety funds, those funds are operating as they should and are within their prescribed revenue streams.
All right, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, I have a quick question. It's just something that you just said right now towards the end. As long as we don't have a federal loan, so the USDA loan that we're going to get for the community center is not part of what you're mentioning.
It's a federal grant, not loan. Let's see, a single audit is required on federal grants, not loans.
Okay.
Loans have to be paid back. It's anytime we receive money that we don't have to pay back.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Any additional questions from council? Then I'll go ahead and move this out, open it up for public comment. Any member of the public may now address this particular item. No one's running up there, huh? Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and ask Marisol if we have anyone on Zoom.
No comments via Zoom.
Okay. Estela, anyone via email?
No comments via email.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this and bring it back for council action.
I think I move that we accept the audited financial statement as presented.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and second it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you,
Thanks, Mike.
Michael. After a while, looking at all those numbers, my head began to swim.
Mine too.
Looking at all the explanation.
It's better to look at the first page than the last.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I usually do.
Public hearing to introduce and waive reading and read by title only. Ordinance number 2024-143, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Gonzales, amending chapter 12.116, signs of title. 12, part 5. Is that 5 or 8?
Yes.
5, okay. Regulations applying to all districts of the city of the Gonzales City Code.
Perfect.
Staff report.
Thank you, Kevin Kinnison Brown with the Community Development Department. Following the council's go ahead, earlier in the year, staff modified sections of the sign code to allow
a single freestanding freeway visible billboard. Next slide, please. And so the city has an opportunity here to generate revenue if we enable such a sign permitted in the city in a limited manner. And also we believe that public safety and information distribution in emergency can be enhanced with such a sign. So the revisions to the sign code also, well, they enable this type of sign to be placed, but not become prolific in other parts of the city. Well, we've got it pretty much tied down to that it can only happen once. Also, revisions in front of you include minor amendments to housekeeping, cleanup and modernization. Let me see one more slide, please. Yeah, and so those housekeeping items were that there was a reference here in the sign code about holiday decorations that we didn't find really had a place in the sign code. Also, we adjusted some of the light levels to be more familiar. This is really technical stuff, to be more familiar measurement. And we added this definition here that would enable the digital display. And so what it will be, well, it'll be changeable by computer, but it's not going to be animated like a moving television screen. You'll have images up for six seconds or longer, and then they will change out. So it's not going to be airplanes flying through the scene or you see moving vehicles up there. Next slide, please. Yeah, and so we do expect a height of up to 70 feet allowed, and it could be of a composition that comes together through a design committee is the way the ordinance is read, put together. So what we're doing today is just enabling the rule set that would allow such a sign, and later we would hope to have entertained a proposal from the real sign company with a real location and a real tangible proposal. So these are several examples of where the top image is changeable text and backgrounds, and then also we could apply a fixed medallion such as the city logo. These are just hypotheticals. Next slide. And you know, not really part of the ordinance, but the design committee could decide, you know, what is a community character or a material choice that draws upon some of the region or the city's heritage. And there's some suggestions up here, but the design is not before you today. Next slide. Right, so we, I don't know if you want me to get into the weeds here, but basically we had to create a new section titled Offsite Advertising Billboard Signs. So this is a new section, and it speaks that no signs would be, well, they'd only be allowed in the industrial district, of which the whole winery face to the 101 is industrial district. And the city also has a detention pond out there that's zoned industrial, and that might be an ideal place for a city lease to happen for such a sign. And the parameters here that if there's another sign considered, no closer than 3,000 feet to the first sign, industrial, and no closer than 500 feet from a church, park, or school. Next image, please. Needs to face the highway, not the neighborhoods, not back into the street, not back into surface streets or commercial businesses, no higher than 70 feet. And it's a large sign area, but when it's up in the air and quite the distance and you want to see it from a car while you're traveling at 65 miles an hour, right? No one's going 80 on the 101. Everybody goes 65, right? Or less. 672 square feet is the sign area proposed. And as I mentioned earlier, that the sign copies won't rotate more rapidly than every 6 seconds. So it's kind of an industry standard. I don't need to stay too much in the weeds, but let's move on. Is the sign ordinance that were written here also subject to the architectural design, final approval by the planning department, be consistent with the design review process that we haven't given shape to yet. And one more time, one more slide.
is that a sign on city property would be subject to a development agreement or lease agreement here, where we can negotiate for the city's time balanced with the advertising sign, with the advertising time balanced with local business time. And that we'd also have revenue provisions in there able to be negotiated by the city manager. And I think that's almost a wrap. Let me go again. Next slide, please. So we have an opportunity here to be pioneering to allow such a modern, well-designed sign in the city, as well as generate some revenue. And think we can negotiate a good rent eventually. And yeah, I think it's kind of redundant there, so I don't really need to add much more to the staff report than that. But I can answer questions. I do see that there's a sign industry representative in the room, and today would represent the first reading, and we'll put the note. We'll have the second reading on the 20th. So
Questions for staff, right? There we go.
Yeah, I just have one, and I think I'm putting the cart before the horse as far as placement goes, because I know you have some recommendations in the staff report that shows potential placements for where we might want to put that. We don't have to put that yet in the actual code, correct?
we were specific enough as to say the industrial district. And what that actually does is it removes those two choices that we had kind of entertained about a year ago, which were public facilities and also next to residential neighborhoods. Turns out that Caltrans requires that it be in an industrial or a commercial district.
Because we don't want it in residential, and I know that was something we were all pretty clear.
And in fact, without the Diorigo piece being purchased yet, there's no residential there. But again, one of those parameters in the sign was, in the new ordinance, was it should be facing the highway, not shining to the houses.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a quick question. I think on one of the slides you mentioned that it would have to be approved by the planning department.
Well,
Is it going to go to the planning commission as well?
That is true. It'd be a use permit, but go ahead, Carmen, you had something to say? No?
No? Okay. I was just trying to clarify the statement that was on one of your slides.
No, that's true. The ordinance requires a use permit that is issued by the planning commission.
Okay.
But at one point, there'll be a design committee. All right, and then it would come for a permit. And the planning department could say, that's what was intended, here's the design, let's build it.
And the
Instead
design
of going back to the planning commission for a second time.
And the design committee would be made up of staff, or would it be made up of people from the community?
We can create that ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions from council?
Yeah. May I clarify? Thank you very much, council. Any lease agreement for use of city property in the revenue stream would, of course, come back to the city council for review.
Mr. Frank, Ms. Orozco, any questions from you? Okay. That being said, then I'll go ahead and open this item up to the public for any comments from the public. You may do so at this time on this item.
Oops. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, Roman Barba. The sign is very important where you put it. So I would recommend that if you find 3 areas that you go out there and look. Because I remember when we had Cipriani Estates, when we were trying to find an area there, they said not on the other side. So I told the Max Becerra, which is married to my cousin, a part of Cipriani Estates. Well, I told him to switch land with the winery on the other side. So it's very important that you actually go and check, because no one thought about the other side till I took a walk out there and looked, didn't notice the other side of the property. Two, I'm kind of concerned too about the sign, because I remember we grew up underneath that water tank. And I remember people kept shooting at the water tank. Next thing you know, we were getting rained on. Yeah, that water tank was getting rained on. So someone was shooting at that water tank. So So I'm thinking about that sign and you get some idiots that would do stuff like that, right? They might shoot that sign. I was just wondering. And I also think about the taggers jumping on that thing and tagging it, right? So I would think there's a sign out there that has to be really secured because you got these taggers and you see them, I don't know how they get on top of these bridges, right? You know, you go to LA, you go to San Diego and you see these things all marked up. So, but it's very important that if you go out there and you say you want to put it there, I think you need to actually walk the area and find if there's gonna be another spot, because you know that slough goes all the way down toward the cemetery. Goes all the way toward one bridge, and that slough just runs all the way across, so toward the winery, so it's very important that you go out there, but hopefully none of those kids or anybody will go out there and shoot it or tag it or anything like that. But I wonder if there's gonna be a fence around it or anything like that. So hopefully we decide on a good location. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a comment on this item? Yes. I saw a bright color start to move.
Rosa Rodriguez, 307 Darshar Way. I'm very excited about this project and I also agree with Roman that it should be secured because there's always going to be somebody who's bored because we don't have a community center and they're going to want to do something. And one of the things is when it rains and it doesn't happen that often, but we do sometimes get they're fixing it. CalTrans is trying to fix it. That part underneath the Chular Bridge where it floods and sometimes we can't get through there. And it's nice to have the signage so that if somebody's coming, I don't know, from Soledad or knows to take that Folletta Road. Or to take, I don't think they would want to take the Old Stage Road because that's actually really bad when it rains. But Folletta, you know, is not that bad. And sometimes when I've had to go to pick up my son at school, it's helped me, you know, to divert either construction or an accident or a flood or whatnot. And so I think the signage is important. And I think in LA, a lot of the times I think they might, this is just, you know, a theory that they might have taggers or whatnot because of advertisement from, say, I don't know, from third parties. And I think the signage should be used not for advertising purposes from third parties, but more for city purposes and emergency purposes and events and so forth. So that's kind of like my 2 cents to try to avoid other people from tagging, you know, advertising that's out there. But that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What else? Go ahead.
Since we have the representative. from the
Should
company-
we finish the?
I'm sorry.
Let's finish the public comment.
Right, I
Thank you.
See no other public person running up to the podium. Marisol, do we have anybody via Zoom making any comments?
No comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Estella, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Okay. Now we'll bring it back to council discussion. Now, Ms. Worthy, we'll close the public meeting, the public comment period, and we'll open it up for council discussion.
I apologize.
That's okay. Glad to see you're excited.
I know, I'm excited about this project. I was just wondering, since we do have the representative here from the sign company, if maybe he could address those couple of concerns about tagging. Do you find those to be problems in other locations? Because that is something that our community members have expressed, and I just thought maybe.
Yeah, it's,
Could you please identify yourself?
oh, sorry, Scott Smith with the Legacy Sign Company. Yeah, vandalism can be a challenge anywhere you go. In the bigger cities, say like Los Angeles or San Diego that were referenced, it can be an even bigger problem. But security around the base pole of the sign that was suggested, that's really a great idea to do. These types of signs, the digital ones also, don't require very much or really hardly any maintenance up on top of the sign very often. So there's no need for a ladder or anything like that a lot of the traditional signs have that you'll see. So if there's no ladder there, getting up on top of it is, I mean, it's really difficult. So anytime that we'll go out and search a digital sign like this, we'd actually have to have like a lift or something like that to get somebody up on top if that's actually needed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Through the mayor, may I?
Yes,
respond to
do you have a
something?
question or comment, Tevin?
In the ordinance that I offered, I didn't really detail out or really screw it down what I meant by design review. But it's my full expectation to have visual sims provided for whichever design or whichever designs would be considered that show really a measured and a verifiable height and what that looks like at different vantage points. And already the site is secured by fences. We have to get access code to get in there ourselves. And so what this gentleman suggested would be even a second level fence at the base of it. But the site is, it's not a walk-on site right now. Or that side, and you've got to go through the gate to get to Constellation. And there's other gates out there. So thank you for letting me add that.
Any further council discussion? And if not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying.
I think we need to read it.
So, yeah, so the motion
me to
is
read it?
for introduction, waiver of reading and reading by title only, and I think we already have the title read into the record, so.
Right.
Basically just.
Do you want me to read it?
Introduce and waive reading.
Well, Maria was the maker of the motion. So
No,
she-
I made the motion.
I apologize.
That's okay. I'm ready.
You don't
Sorry.
have, you don't have to read it in. We've
I don't
already
have to
the
read it
title in. Just need a motion to introduce and
Right.
waive reading.
Okay. Move to introduce and waive the reading of title ordinance number 2024-144.
The maker of the
Second.
second. Good. We're
Just a
good.
quick note, 143.
Did I read the wrong one?
Yes.
143. Amen.
Yes.
Make sure. Amending the signs. Yes, 143. I apologize. 2024-143. I got ahead of myself.
Thank
Just
you.
rewind the tape.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the last item here, Liz, would you be so kind as to read that? I'm sorry. My eyes are just,
Sure.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm gonna read it.
Good moments, bad moments.
Okay. Introduce, waive reading, and read by title only ordinance number 2024-144. An ordinance of the city council of the city of Gonzales amending chapter 5.40 fireworks of title 5, public health and safety of the Gonzales City Code. Staff report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this evening's hearing and the ordinance before you is the culmination of months and months of work and input from a number of people, including the chief and residents and the committee and so forth. You have a detailed staff report, so I'm just going to hit the highlights, but basically the city's existing firework enforcement provisions, and I use that term lightly, they are found in chapter 5.40. The provisions are actually light on enforcement aspects and much more concerned with permitting and the sale of what are known as safe and sane fireworks. And there's not much teeth in terms of enforcement provisions. As a general rule, firework enforcement by municipal code provision is difficult throughout the state of California and probably throughout the country. It's not a problem that's unique to Gonzales. Why? One of the things is that it's difficult to issue citations because the police officers actually have to observe the offenders using the fireworks. Secondly, there are so many individuals that are using fireworks on or around the 4th of July that it's often difficult to decide whom you're going to issue a citation to. And there's a lack of enough bodies to issue citations to make enforcement meaningful. And probably the most important aspect that makes firework enforcement difficult is the fact that using fireworks on Independence Day or on and around Independence Day is sort of a time-honored tradition, and most people consider it to be a minor breach of the law, if a breach at all, to shoot off fireworks and so forth. So as long as there's that mindset, it makes it very difficult to enforce fireworks restrictions. Despite the best efforts of the police department, not just here, but again, throughout the state, the use of illegal fireworks continues largely unabated. Last year in the city, fireworks were in use and on display well before the 4th of July, after the 4th of July, and on the 4th of July, well past midnight. Animals were frightened. People who have PTSD were concerned with the fireworks. As Mr. Barber, I think, pointed out several times when he addressed the council, debris associated with fireworks were disseminated throughout the entire city. And as you are all well aware, in the last 2 consecutive years, we've had structure fires related to, I can't necessarily say if you remember the report that was done on last year's tragedy, where we actually had a structure residential fire and the loss of life. They couldn't conclusively point to fireworks as a cause, but it would strike me as being somewhat of a coincidence if it wasn't in some way related, given the fact that it occurred on the 4th of July. But the year before, we also had a fire that burnt down a home that was not occupied. So, so with all those things in mind, earlier this year, the council formed a fireworks committee comprised of 5 citizens, and they were charged with the responsibility of making some recommendations of new provisions that we might want to put into our codes for enforcement purposes. That committee met on March 12th and April 2nd and came up with a list of recommendations, including that we update the city code to include language that establishes a 10:30 p.m. curfew on the use of fireworks on the 4th of July. Add provisions potentially holding a landlord responsible for violation of fireworks sections of the city code, and that we consider adopting an administrative procedure for citation purposes that would allow enhanced fines. The administrative process would be something that instead of issuing citations that would be handled by the courts, it would be handled on an administrative basis here in the city with an administrative hearing officer and so forth, and appeals would then be brought forward to the city council. The other recommendation we had was establishing a messaging campaign from the fire department, the police department, and possibly the youth council on problems associated with illegal and legal fireworks use and the effects on most other folks throughout the city. So on the basis of the recommendations that we received, as well as input we received from the fire chief, the city manager, city council, we have put together a number of change to chapter 5.40. Again, I just want to temper this with, and everyone's expectations with the fact that until you change the mindset of the citizens in the city as to whether or not they should or should not use fireworks, it's going to be very difficult to enforce provisions that we adopt. We also have only so many officers and so much time. What often happens is the officers are dispatched to a particular location that's been reported. By the time they get there, the fireworks are no longer being discharged, or if people see the fire or the police car coming down the street and everybody stops coming in and so forth. So the provisions that we have added to the code, or that we're proposing to have you add to the code, will give a better definition of the restrictions on the use of fireworks in the city. Basically, it involves much more than just the use. It's the possession, storage, offer for sale, sale at retail or wholesale, use, discharge, or exploding, or permitting the use of property or property under control of someone for fireworks, except for safe and sane fireworks. That the safe and sane fireworks are designated by the state. We also have a catch-all at the end there that allows public displays to be approved by the fire chief. So if for some reason the city at some later point in time decided that they wanted to follow the course of action that's been taken in some of the other cities, Soledad has a fireworks display every year that they pay for. And if we wanted to do that, the chief could approve the use of city property for a fireworks display at that time. And then probably the biggest change that we're adding to the code is proposed response and administrative cost ability to basically collect from somebody who has violated these laws for the cost of fire service, police service, emergency medical care, and so forth and so on. It can't be done just on an administrative basis. So in order for us to collect it, we'd actually have to file an action to recover our costs and so forth. But in those cases where we had significant expenditure of time and effort of our fire department, the police department, emergency services, we would definitely give consideration to trying to recover the cost of those services from somebody who had knowingly violated these restrictions that are in the code now. Also made it clear that now that I'm looking at it, I want to make sure, yes, there's a page break there. We've also declared it a public nuisance. to use fireworks, which gives us a few additional tools to use for control and enforcement, and also indicated that these remedies are non-exclusive in case some other tool comes up. We've also identified the specific violation and penalty. These are all infraction citations, so we're somewhat reined in by what the law tells us we can do for infraction violations. The first violation is $100. The next one I think is $250 or something like that. And I have to double check. But anyway, they're the basic infraction violations that we have for infractions throughout the city. So so that's what you have before you this evening. Then is a proposal to amend chapter 5.40. You have an underlying strikeout version of the ordinance in your packet this evening. You can see where the changes are being proposed to the code, but essentially there is a lot more teeth to the ordinance now that we're adding this. That being said, I want to temper everybody's expectations that this is not going to be, we're not going to suddenly have everybody complying, and there's a good chance that there won't be much of anything. It's sort of a learning curve. We also are recommending that the council approve and direct staff to continue with the educational component of this. I do think it's a great idea. I think that we can use examples of things that have happened in the city during the last 2 years, the structure fires, the loss of life and so forth, that to convince people that they really should give a second thought before they are discharging fireworks other than the safe and sane fireworks, and maybe even the safe and sane fireworks for that reason. We also think that the educational component can be used to provide citizens with alternative places if they want to go see fireworks and so forth, tell people where they can go to see those and so forth, and make an evening or an afternoon of it. And then lastly, on this comprehensive administrative enforcement scheme, staff made a determination that that's probably a bigger bite than we can really take this particular year. Right now, we don't have staffing or the ability to hold a large number of administrative hearings if we started to issue citations on an administrative basis, but it's an idea that we may want to follow up on. And so the thought would be for the council to give some direction to staff to maybe follow up with other folks who've adopted these administrative schemes, find out how successful they're being, how many citations they're processing and so forth. My understanding is some folks have established a scheme like this, but then been completely unable to do anything with it once they have it in place. The one big advantage of having it, though, is that you can impose fines that are much greater than the infraction fines. So you can impose fines of $1,000 for the first violation and so forth. And when you have that kind of incentive to not get caught for violating the laws, you have a better chance that maybe you're going to be able to slow down some of the illegal use of fireworks in the city. So this matter comes to you this evening as the first reading and introduction of this ordinance and waiver of reading of the entire ordinance. You have a public hearing. We'll have a notice of public hearing for the next meeting, but you can definitely have a public hearing this evening. We've set it up that way so you can open up and take comments on this, and you can hear what folks have to say, and then thereafter, after entertain any questions you may have and help you through the adoption or the introduction process if that's what you want to do.
All right, thank you, Michael. And then we'll go ahead and introduce this and, we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item of the agenda may do so at this time.
Rosa Rodriguez, 307 Ayrshire Way. As you can tell, I kind of stopped coming to the meetings for a while, but this agenda was loaded with a lot of things that I was very interested in, and that's why I'm here. And I'm happy that they're all here. And yes, last year there was a confusion. Again, we need the community liaison to give more information. There were actually fireworks practically above my home. And I could see exactly, thanks to geometry and my geometry teacher at Gonzales High School, I could tell exactly where they were coming from. And so I called 911 because I could see the embers, and there's embers and they're gonna be on my roof, you know, it's gonna catch on fire. Even though I live on the California breeze and this is what, like a 20, maybe 27-year-old, I guess, subdivision, I said it's still gonna catch on fire. So I called 911 and they said, nope, you have to hang up and you have to call the non-emergency number. I said, well, I was not aware of that. And I said, and if my home catches on fire, you know, it's recorded on the 911 line and it's not recorded on the non-emergency line. So that's why I'm calling the 911 line. So if anybody goes back and checks the records for the 911 on that day, and I have my pictures of where they were coming from, there's a 911 recorded call. Okay, so that happened. I took pictures. And then I think it was 2 hours later, the other home went up in fire. And I took pictures of that home, and I could take pictures of the intensity of the colors of the flame. So I knew that our fire department was not going to be able to pull it out because of the colors, thanks to Gonzales High School art class. And so yes, so I am very concerned about that. Yes, you know, it's 4th of July, it's to celebrate freedom and, you know, let freedom ride. Of course, you know, I'm a US citizen. I want to celebrate that. But there's other ways to celebrate it. Like you said, you know, going to a memorial, to sing, you know, to our fallen and to remember them. And I think it's a disservice to do the fireworks, and a lot of them have PTSD. Some of them do not. I have PTSD. What triggers me doesn't trigger the next person because we're all unique. We're all different. And so we have to be mindful of that. And I have relatives in the military. I have nephews in the Marine. I have nephews, you know, in the Army. And believe me, they affect them in very different ways. I have one of my nephews, you know, his hearing is really messed up because, you know, of all the bombs going off. So I don't think that we should, you know, go on ego and, you know, it's because we're having fun. You know, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if I could cover, Henry Martinez, 112 10th Street, if I can cover some of what my son probably wanted to say was, you blame landlords? We're gonna put in our new contracts, we're having our tenants sign, that if they're caught firing fireworks, we're gonna kick them out. And the bottom of the contract, it will say contact the council for passing the ordinance to blame the landlords. Next year, I won't be able to kick them out because they become a problem for the state where the law says what is that? Hardship. And then we lose the power to kick them out. But yet you blame the landlords. We have no power over our tenants. They rent it, it's theirs till the 30th. We only get it back one day. That's when they pay us the rent. Then they get it back for 30 more days. And then 4th of July, it is not for veterans. It is not for wars. It's for our independence. If we would have still been under the power of England, we wouldn't have this meeting. This meeting would be totally different. And there wouldn't be no fireworks under a king because we're celebrating, we kicked them out. And it's only one day. And the way you guys did that meeting last time was unconstitutional by picking members out of the community and not opening it up to the large. You want to ban fireworks, legal fireworks? Look what Santa Cruz is doing. They took it to the public. You need to ask the public what you guys want to do. Take it to the vote. Let the people really speak. That's what the 4th of July is. We have the right to say stuff. You pick and choose people you want because if you would have put me on there, I would have told you it's his fault. He wouldn't be spending time chasing me, bothering my family, chasing my granddaughter into women's bathrooms. They would have the policemen to patrol at night instead of me filing complaints all the time. He needs to do his work. Go out there and patrol during the daytime. Let the daytime officers go and patrol at night. The 2 officers that are on duty, the captain and the chief, should be replacing them and letting the 2 officers go at night. No, he wants to have 4th of July off. So does the captain. They don't want to patrol the streets. We had Chief Green, Aponte, and one more chief, and some other chief. They used to patrol the streets.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Roman Barba. Last year and the year before that, we had 2 fires, right? And last year I also brought a bag of fireworks that landed into my yard, which my neighbor that's in the alley there, he had a whole bunch of chairs there. Their family sitting there blowing the illegal fireworks. I mean, everyone was an illegal firework. So I talked to the guy and I asked the guy to stop blowing these fireworks because they're all landing in my yard. So, and I asked him if he could move into the street. Well, he said he's not going to move into the street. So I told him I was going to call the police department. He says, well, go for it. Call the police. They're not going to show up. Even if they show up, they're not going to do anything about it. Well, guess what? I called the police department 3 times, non-emergency number, not 911, and they never showed up. So the next morning, basically I stayed up, right? I had the water hose and everything, so I stayed up, till they stopped, right? But 11:30, so around there is when they stopped. So, but they're out there in the alley drinking their beers or whatever, tequila, and just shooting them out like crazy. I mean, it was like a war. And what's the weird thing about it is the same people doing it every single year. And I'm on 2nd Street, and you see the same people on 3rd Street doing it, and they're all coming toward my house, right? So it's the same people, because I walk down the street and I walk there with the flashlight. Same people, every single year. And where the fire was on the other side of town, we have a rental property right around the corner from there. And talking to them, they told me that cul-de-sac there every year has a party. They even block it off right there. So every year, I'm sure the police department knows they block off that cul-de-sac and they're blowing off all these illegal fireworks. So I believe that firework started that fire on that house there. So, and now you had 1 dead person. So, and I believe that drone that we got, I don't think it's going to do any good, because how many citations did the police department give out last year or the year before? Do you guys even know? You think the drone is going to increase citations or give out tickets? I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to do anything. I think it was a waste of money buying a drone. I don't think it's going to do any good. Are you going to be flying it up in the air? I'm sure some of these guys out here probably, if they're all drunk, they're going to probably shoot at it, right? So, but hopefully the police department does right. Hopefully we have enough people out there to go around the neighborhood. It's pretty easy. It's the same ones every year doing it. And it's not hard to find. Just take a walk. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? From the public? I don't see anybody else. Marisol, do we have any more comments via Zoom?
Yes, Henry and April.
Okay, let's get them on. Can I get through? Mr. Martinez, you're on.
Hello? Can you guys hear? Hello?
I don't know how to solve this problem, so I'm just gonna have to apologize and move on. I apologize, Mr. Martinez. I'm afraid there's technical difficulties and we're unable to hear your comments. You're more than welcome to follow up with an email. Okay.
We'll also have another bite at the apple. This is just the introduction.
This is just the
Yeah,
introduction.
next meeting.
Are you there? Okay.
You're on.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, Henry Martinez Jr., 116 10th Street. About damn time you guys listen. Exactly what I told you guys last time about you guys can't bust nobody until you have a physical officer looking. So you guys are wasting time, money, and resources to even try to do anything about this. My kids are in the military serving this country. So guess what? I got the God-given right to celebrate whoever I want to. And guess what? Every year, I spend $5,000 in the community to throw a block party at my place. Ain't nobody gonna tell me that I'm gonna shut down at 10:30. I will party all night if I want to. And guess what? I will continue to push this subject with the community. We all stand together. And trust me, we're not gonna follow this if you put a curfew on this. Because you know what? The moment you guys put a curfew, you guys all start becoming Nazis and everything. This is not fair. This is not at all. This is a celebratory day for the country. Unless you change the Constitution, we will continue to celebrate on the 4th of July past 10:30. And I would love to see a fine on my doors. And trust me, I take care of my homes and my properties. I clean them up. I make sure they are well taken care of so my places don't burn down. You should be blaming the residents to take care of their homes on, especially on a night like that, knowing the fact that there is illegal fireworks going up in the air. Not once have my properties burned down, and they will continue to do so because I managed it properly.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Martinez. All right, so we took care of that Zoom issue. Stella, do we have any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close the public meeting and bring it back to council discussion. I know there's got to be questions from council, so let's address them now. You're going to go first, okay?
I think that, at least my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'm sure that the community is split on this. I mean, I'm sure we have half of the community that wants fireworks and half of the community that doesn't want fireworks. I want to address the committee that was put together. The committee was put together with half the committee wanting fireworks and half of the committee not wanting fireworks. So there was a broad selection of people. So it wasn't just one-sided. I want to clarify that to our community. I understand the idea of partying and having a great time and all of that. I think you're right. We do have to have a good time on that night. But there are a lot of people out there that are suffering. Ms. Rodriguez brought it up with PTSD and on the spectrum, and we need to be good neighbors. I don't understand this. We need to be good neighbors in our community. If one group is going to sit there and continue to go off and, I mean, I respect you, Mr. Martinez and Mr. Martinez, to have your good time, but we all have to respect each other. And some people are concerned about the fireworks, and they have every right to feel that way, just as you have a right. So that is my opinion. I live with someone with PTSD. It's not easy on that night. Who served in the war, just like some of your nephews and your relatives have served. There's a lot of people out there. I mean, I could start, this is an extremely emotional subject matter for me, because I live with it every single day, just like many people do. So please just be respectful of each other. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
Me.
You do?
Sure.
Okay, Liz?
I agree with Ms. Worthy is that we need to be respectful. And this is addressing the issue of the illegal fireworks, that they are banned, they are illegal. I don't know what part of that some people may not get, but the committee put this ordinance or this suggestion, the recommendations with regards to the Safe and Sane fireworks, which many of our nonprofits, they earn their money by selling those fireworks. It doesn't get dark on the 4th of July until about 9 o'clock. I'm okay with a Safe and Sane and to enjoy them until you got to go to bed. Okay. I don't think there necessarily has to be a cutoff time. The loud ones are not the safe and sane ones. The safe and sane are not as loud as the illegal ones. I mean, the illegal ones, they scare me. I don't have PTSD. But they can make you jump out of your chair, and it's very frightening. In the last 2 summers, we've had some tragic events happen here in Gonzales. This should never have happened. But they did. And we are trying to learn from that to move forward and provide our community with a way to celebrate our independence, but be respectful to one another. I know that the nonprofits began selling their fireworks about a week before the 4th or a few days before the 4th of July. And sales are stopped on the 4th of July. They don't sell them any longer than that. So we will probably see some of the safe and sane, probably the others too, a few days before the 4th and probably going into the weekend since Independence Day is on a Thursday this year. So, again, I applaud the committee for coming together. As Ms. Worthy said, some were totally against them, but some were totally for them. But they came together, they worked together, and maybe they agreed to disagree, but at the end, they made some very good recommendations, and I applaud their efforts. So I would like to know how many citations have actually been issued in 2021, 22, and 23. That would be a helpful piece of information. And how many stuck? And was there a citation given with regards to the tragedies that happened in 2022 and 2023? I mean, those are the kinds of things we don't hear about afterwards. We saw the family, the grieving family, come to our council meeting. You know, we can't even, really say anything to them because that was an ongoing investigation at the time that they came. So, and as a council member, I've never heard that this has come to any kind of resolution with that family or not. So it would be helpful for some kind of follow-up to that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Does staff have good direction on that, and can we get that at the next council meeting? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Orozco?
I just would like to echo Liz and Lorraine's comments, and would also, they do have the nonprofit groups that do part of their fundraising from the sale of fireworks. Maybe in the near future, it would be nice to get a report. I think we've asked for this a few years ago, to get a report on just how much funds do they actually raise, and what are some of the things that they do with the funds that they do receive, and how it's helped them. I think that would be good information to have as well. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Fung, any additional comments?
Yeah, just once again, I want to thank the community members who did take the time, and they met several times. It was something we talked about at council meetings. I know not everyone in this room was at those council meetings, but it was something that was talked about, and members were selected, and to represent the broad spectrum of Gonzales. And so once again, I thank the members who did participate. And as noted, yeah, there were members who were completely against, and there were members completely for. And also represented, some of the boosters. But with that being said, I do appreciate the ordinances put in place. Obviously, the main piece is to have the teeth that go after the illegal fireworks. That's the big piece here. Those are the ones that, as we know, those are the ones that make the biggest noise, right? Those are the ones that are causing the biggest issue. Those are the ones that are likely to get up in the air and come down and cause the major issues. Just want to remind folks that our current noise ordinance is still 10 o'clock. So, I mean, this one references going until 10:30. I think that's just, again, there's still a noise ordinance at 10 o'clock. Anyhow, with that being said, I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you're looking for a motion at this point.
Well, I wanted to make a couple of comments. I totally agree with you, Mr. Funk, that we do have a 10 o'clock noise ordinance, and I know that that is enforced because we've had neighbors that have been cited for exceeding the 10 o'clock limit. I think 10:30 is being generous because that is a school night, and I can't speak for Mr. Martinez, but I have grandchildren that are currently attending school, and their normal bedtime is 9 o'clock. So 10:30, I think is quite generous on behalf of the city to allow that to continue to then. You know, kids have to go to school, and if you have little ones, I mean, fortunately, back when mine were all little, the illegal works weren't as prevalent. And so 9 o'clock, you know, we would turn on their fireworks and it was good. I mean, they were happy just to have them. I think when you do anything to an excess, and I think $5,000 is a lot of money to spend on fireworks, and kudos to you for doing that. But I think, like Mrs. Worthy said, please be courteous to your neighbors. They may have little ones that need to go to school the next day. And if you're up till midnight, guess what? They're not going to be very happy campers the next day they're in school. And I'm sure you wouldn't appreciate them doing that to you if you had little ones. And finally, on your comments regarding the tenants, we did the exact same thing that you did, Mr. Martinez, is we notified the tenants that that is considered an illegal activity as they're firing off illegal fireworks. And it clearly states in their contract that that is a violation of their lease. So for what it's worth, with the few homes that we manage, we have not had that issue because we've made it very, very clear. Safe and sane, we're good with that up to a point, but illegal ones, go ahead, light them off. If your neighbor complains, guess what? You're gonna be looking for a new home, and is it worth it? Most of our tenants have, that I'm aware of, have been compliant. They do the safe and sane, they do not do the illegals. It's more important to have a house than just to watch things blow up in the air, at least for me. But that being said, to each their own, but I do think that we have to have some teeth in the ordinance. If not, then we're spinning our wheels up here. I'm here, and I know that the four of us are here for what we hope is a better Gonzales, a better community, that we all care about each other, that we care that our kids are getting a decent night's sleep. I know for me, that's number one. And of course, definitely the safety. The last thing I want to see is someone come in here again like that one night that we had that council meeting and just, you know, there were folks in tears that were definitely against, but for the most part, it was against the illegal fireworks. Unfortunately, someone let that genie out of the bag many, many years ago, and it's been almost impossible to get it back in. Mr. Martinez actually had given me a great idea, and too bad, you know, that this item wasn't before us earlier. But he said, you know, let's start advertising the drone. Put it at the Dia del Nino, put it at Cinco de Mayo, and show folks, FYI, if you're shooting illegals, we may have a bird in the air that's going to catch you. I thought that was a great idea, but unfortunately, this wasn't before us yet. And there's no additional parties until the 4th. So, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And I'm hoping that the advertising that we're going to be doing on this sinks into some people. I'm really, really hoping for that. I'm praying for that. Because I do not want to see one more house burned down. As it stands now, we are bursting, literally bursting at the seams with people in homes that are 2 families, 3 families, 4 families in one home. What happens when 4 families are in that one home, their house burns down? We don't have the resources to find anything for them. I wish we did. I wish we did. We don't. Let's be realistic. Let's be good to our neighbors. Now I'll go ahead and entertain the motion. I'm sorry, let me get off my soapbox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion. We introduce, waive reading and read by title only, ordinance number 2024-144.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on. Gonzales Youth Council update. Oh, they're not here today?
Our youth council are not here today. They've been busy, really busy. Bunch of them are graduating this year, but they're also busy planning the youth summit this Saturday in Soledad in partnership with Greenfield and Soledad.
Fantastic.
And just on a note, their keynote speaker is going to be Fabiola, who was the previous GYCer who now works at the state capitol. So
fantastic. It's great.
Thank
Great
you.
news. Then we'll go ahead and move on to council reports. And I'm the first one up, Tamsi. We had a rather lively and entertaining discussion at the last TAMSI meeting. Initially, it was regarding the Highway 68 and the roundabout. So the plan is to do initially 3 roundabouts. Let me see if I remember correctly. Carretera, San Venancio, and Los Morelos. Those are the 3 key intersections. But to see how we can maybe improve that even now, they are looking at AI as a possibility to synchronize signals so that hopefully when you get to there, if there's enough flow on traffic going towards Monterey or coming the other way, that they will coordinate so that you get hopefully as many greens as you can and get you further along Highway 68. Initially, it was going to be again for those 3 intersections. The board suggested that we should look at all the signals on Highway 68. If we can do it for 3, why not do it for the rest of them? Made a lot of sense to me. So that's what the board moved forward with. The next item took, I kid you not, I think it was an hour and 15 minutes. And I was just befuddled why we were even discussing it for that length of time. And it was basically spending $800 to be a member of the Salinas Valley Chamber of Commerce. Salinas had a burr under their saddle and they wanted a whole procedure written up for what organizations we joined, even though we only have 2 organizations we're a part of, Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce and now the Salinas Valley Chamber. And those are usually brought by the executive director to the entire TAMSI board and we agree or disagree on it. And so our thought was, why waste time and money? Attorneys are not cheap. No disrespect, Michael. But I kid you not, it took an hour and 15 minutes to finally come to a 9-6 vote. And then the maker of the initial motion felt that he deserved a weighted vote. Now, weighted vote, you can imagine the 500-pound gorilla is Salinas, and they're the ones that were requesting it. Unfortunately, they didn't follow proper protocol and didn't ask for the vote, the weighted vote at the beginning. So vote stood 9-6. Not a very happy camper, but I thought at 9.5, an hour and 15 minutes, we even had to go bio break. That was the first time ever. I mean, it was just ridiculous that we spent 45 minutes on a very important corridor and then we spent an hour and 15 minutes. How do we spend $800? I'm like, geez. Those are days that I say, why am I even sitting here? But I did. The Mayor Select Committee, also me, we had Norm Groot as our keynote speaker. Nothing but positive news and it was great to hear. So if you haven't heard, Lake Nacimiento is at 91% capacity. Lake San Antonio, this lake has never been much over 50% in the entire time that I've lived in this valley. It's at 81% of capacity. So 82 now. Yeah. Yee. The crop report was very interesting, not surprisingly. Boy, strawberries bring in a lot of dew. And but King is still lettuce. So a great discussion. Now, there was some discussion that apparently the Board of Supervisors is looking at increasing the sales tax. So if obviously, if we're not at 10 cents on sales tax and they pick up the other half cent, then they get it. Cities that have already got their full 10 cents, like King City and Greenfield, would not be affected. Just as the food for thought, if we're looking to get a half-cent sales tax, we better do it now, because if not, I'm pretty sure the county is going to be going after the half-cent sales tax. So those are the 2 items that I had for the Mayor Select Committee. And moving on, we got the Salinas Valley Recyclers.
Thank you, Jose. Just to report that we have approved our budget for the next fiscal year, and our next meeting will be on Thursday, May 16th. I will be unable to attend that meeting due to another commitment, so Scott will be attending in my absence. That's all I have.
Okay. Oral communications, and we'll go ahead and start with Ms. Orozco, just so you can have a rest after that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Day weekends.
It was a full month of activities and a lot of good events, from the kickoff to our Dia de Niños celebration. And I want to mention that our youth group was had a table at the Dia del Niño and did some tenant surveys and asked questions of, tenant issues or concerns. So they're working on that survey. So it was good to see them there. And again, Cinco de Mayo, we had a great parade. It was a nice day and everybody seemed to have a really good time. I do have a concern that was brought up to me by Mr. Peravella, who, when he walks, stops by my shop and always greets me and is waiting for me to get my tennis shoes and go walk with him. But and I'm always busy, but he did have a concern that he was practically almost run over by some kids who were riding their bikes on the sidewalk. And one of them was an electric bike. And he said it just went by so fast. And we're seeing more and more of these electric bikes that they don't really follow the stop signs and they just zoom in and out and again, also the scooters, but he was more concerned with the bikes. So I told him, well, I would ask and see if there was anything that in our books that prohibited or that allowed electric bikes on sidewalks, and I'd get back to him. So I'll check with Chief and then get back to Mr. Peravella, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Frank?
Yeah, just back-to-back weekends, obviously with great events in town. So it was great to have all the folks out there, volunteers. I think obviously led the way. And so, yeah, it's nice to see. And unfortunately, yeah, we don't have any more big events for another month and a half, but we have the Memorial Day celebration and so forth and I'm going on, but no big community events at the park. So the fourth. So.
That also?
Yeah, that'll do it.
Okay. Ms. Silva?
More?
Yes.
Just want to remind everybody that our monthly senior lunch will be on Thursday, May 16th, beginning at 11 a.m. at St. Theodore's Parish Hall. I think most of the seniors that attend have already received their monthly invitation. Also, the Salinas Valley Fair will begin that same day, May 16th, and run through the 19th. So I hope to see some of you down there enjoying all the exhibits that are down there. I'll be down there every day of the fair. My husband and I volunteer in some of the different buildings to make sure people just mind their P's and Q's and enjoy the festivities down there. As Lorraine mentioned earlier, our Memorial Day ceremony will be on Monday, May 27th at our cemetery beginning at 9 a.m. There will be the junior ROTC from Soledad High School will be the color guard. And Shirley Piffero and I, we read the names of our deceased veterans from our city or those that are buried in our cemetery. There will be a barbecue by our Legion Post 81 that will begin at 11 a.m. at the Legion Hall. And if you need tickets, contact a Legion member or an auxiliary member. Reminder that graduation is coming up in probably in less about 4 weeks or so, and the end of the school year. So just beware and mindful of the children that'll be out and about having fun, probably going to swimming lessons, hanging out at the Little League field. So just be mindful because there are more people out and about. I've seen the electric bicycles, the electric scooters, and I mean, even just some of the cars kind of just buzz by without regard a lot of times. This year's Gonzales High School Senior Awards event, at my request, they have moved the event to Wednesday, May 22nd. It'll be at 6 p.m. in the high school gym. That'll honor all the seniors, graduating seniors who will be receiving various awards and scholarships. I attended the one in Soledad about 3 weeks ago, and some of these students are just phenomenal and received full ride scholarships to college, which included the girl who represented our auxiliary at Girls State last summer. She has a full ride scholarship to a college in Vermont. And after college, she will enlist in the Navy. And finally, we have a couple of championship teams at Gonzales High School. So I was kind of hoping that the youth leaders would be here to announce that. But maybe Carmen, you can reach out to Margie Daniels. I believe it's the men's tennis team and the men's baseball team. They both won their league So kudos to all of them. That's it.
Ms. Worthy?
Just a couple of things that I want to bring to staff's attention and all of you. I think you already know this. I will not be at the next meeting, which means I will need to do my report for MST at the following meeting because I do have an MST meeting on Monday and I will be able to give you guys a report at the June, I guess it would be the June meeting. So just to let you know that. I really don't have anything because I think Ms. Silva brought everything up and I'm sure she'll remind everybody again at the next meeting that about our barbecue and the ceremony at the cemetery. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple things and I don't know if you are aware of this, but we had an incident at the park where a young man decided he'd race across the park while there was a group of children in the park. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but I can share with you that there were people running to get away from that incident. In a car, yeah. Yeah, and I guess he is known to our police officers, but unfortunately, the law states if you don't see it, you cannot do anything about it unless someone's willing to file the complaint. The folks that they spoke to were afraid of retaliation, so they said no, they would not file a complaint. Carmen did advise me though that the school never notified us so that we could have maybe a police officer. And one thing that I do want to bring, and I'm sorry Chief Weiss is not here, I'd like to see him out more often. I know that all the previous chiefs did quite a bit of patrolling during the lunchtime hour. I'd like to say our kids are perfect, but you guys all know that there's a few little mischievous children out there. But I'll tell you what, when everybody from Aponte to Green to Miller, lunchtime, I could almost bet the bank on that they would be somewhere to be seen. And that's all they really need is to be seen. It's incredible and how much it deters kids that were maybe thinking of doing something. Oh, Chief's out there, better get out of the way. I really would like to see him out there, and Captain Mendoza, at least at the lunch hour when those kids are all over the place. And luckily there is a closed campus, so I'm not sure how that's handled, but I believe they have to have permission to get off campus. And now the majority of the floor, it used to be Central Park. When I was in high school, that was the place to go hang out at lunchtime and do some, there's a lot of folks that went over there and smoked some stuff, but it used to be illegal. But I definitely would like to see that more often. The other thing that I'm seeing is, well, maybe you guys are not, and mind you, I'm blind, but I can I don't really have to see it, but I can hear it. And it's mostly coming from an industrial park, and there are folks that get out of there and they're literally racing down Alta. I mean, literally, I've seen cars that were both northbound, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not 4 lanes, that's only 2 lanes. So they must be in opposing lane, but they are just flying through town. What stop signs? They just blow through it. I'm hoping that we start clamping down on that because no one's been killed yet. And I really would hate to see that happen, but they get out of work and I know who it is. It's all the youngsters that are working out there that now got some money, can now soup up their car, and guess what? Let's see how fast we can go. The last group that flew down the street that's right in front, I think it's Catherine, right in front of Taylor. They ran into a big old power box that blew out the power to not only Taylor, but what now is Braga Farms, and they were out for a whole day. And needless to say, those customers were not very happy. And I can't say as I blame them, but again, it was luckily Pacific Organics had a camera that was facing the street and they were caught. And Taylor Farms was yelling at PG&E because why did we allow this to happen? Like, how do you stop guys from doing stupid things? Luckily it was on video, and needless to say, they weren't employed for much longer. So I'm saying it now, and I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I would definitely like to see our chief out there. I think I see Jason almost on every event here in town. I know he lives in town, But he has to have some days off, but it doesn't seem like it because he's always here. He's always here. Those are my comments. The other comments that I'd like to make is I'm hoping that sooner rather than later, we get moving on those signs to get the semi-traffics off Fifth Street, because that thing is starting to get really beat up. I mean, it's, you know, we have some funding available. We're supposed to do First Street, but at the rate that I see semis traveling along Fifth Street, that's the next street to go, and that's a very heavily traveled street. But if we can get that heavy traffic off of there, I'm sure that'll help quite a bit. Moving on, city manager.
Yeah, just real brief. I want to let the public know that the city did receive the award from the Monterey Business Council April 26th. This month has just flown by. Actually, the year just has been flown by. We're already halfway through. So and just want to thank everyone that came out to the groundbreaking on the community center. It was a really nice day to see everybody there and excited and celebrating. That really did just happen too. It seems like it happened 3 months ago, but it was only. And then again, Youth Summit this Saturday, really excited for them. And just note the staff has been really busy working on all things USDA, loan, community center, all of that, what you heard tonight. But we've also been busy submitting multiple grants. I just got a call from somebody in DC. Jason and I are working on revising another application for fire department stuff. So we are just staying really busy trying to address everything out there that is available to us. And just thank you to the event, the folks that helped put on the events. So Dia del Niño and Cinco de Mayo, thank you and appreciate all the wonderful work and the hard work they've been doing to make those events happen in our community. So did you have it?
Anything else from staff? Okay, great.
Just real quick, I want to outline a couple things. First, I'm taking some days off. Later on in the month, I'm going back to meet my granddaughter.
Yes, Jason became Chief Musio became a grandfather, if you didn't know, his first grandchild.
Thank
So
you.
he's got some vacation planned.
So I am taking some days off to go meet her. And then with being a grandpa, I get to go to all the senior lunches now. So looking forward to that too. I want to let the council know, going back to the fireworks issue real quick, as far as the educational component goes, we did film the educational videos. It's the edit I saw this morning was about 2.5 minutes long. I got to say the writing, impeccable. The writing was awesome. The on-screen talent, but it's a really good video. Comes from the perspective of the fire department, the police department, our veterans. Mr. One Take, Paul Guzman, nailed his spot. And also the animal control officer had a part in it as well. So as soon as we get that final edit done, they're working on the translation right now. They're subtitling it. We'll give the council a sneak peek. And then there's more stuff. We're working on some flyers right now as well, as part of that educational component for the fire, that based on the recommendations of the fireworks committee. That's it. Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order?
So a couple quick things, Mayor, council members. The pool here installed and we got our permits and it's ready for the summer. And then the other quick comment is, after 4 months, we received the SRF funding agreement for our industrial wastewater project. That came over via email.
All right.
Early this afternoon. So that'll be coming to you at an upcoming council meeting. Fingers crossed the next one. And we're absolutely engaged on this project, have a very good program manager. I was down in San Luis Obispo with the regional board this afternoon, going over the progress that we've been making and what we see ahead. That's my report.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I do have one last item. Please forgive me. The time, I wanted to most fondly salute all the moms in the room. Congratulations, this coming Sunday is your day. Should be every day, but at least this Sunday you will be recognized, and I'm honored to be serving with 3 moms on this council, actually 4, and I'm not sure about Marisol and Estella. Sorry, but I know that at least I've got three moms here.
Estella, yes.
But happy Mother's Day. I wish you the very, very best and enjoy it with your family. Okay, I'm done. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Kevin. Remember, I can't see, so you gotta at least wave your hand or something. Oh,
He's good.
okay. Michael? Either Mike. No, we're good? All right. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
That, okay, second over
We
here.
got double
The
second.
third. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you so much. Turn off your.